I have only about 5 slides or 10 slides. I just want to put the facts on the table and then sort of talk it through amongst ourselves as to what we think an intelligent man's position should be on this debate. Hopefully you'll write to try and maybe you'll click the Facebook, maybe you won't click. So what is the term? Just the physical meaning of the term. Next. It's pretty much self-explanatory. Net neutrality means everything, all traffic on the internet must be neutral, must not have any biases. That means that regardless of who the site is at the other end of your link, it should not take any longer or any shorter for you to access that site. Subject, of course, to your own limitations. And I will explain that with an example. The internet is exactly like our road network. Okay, there's absolutely no difference between the internet as a network, as a schematic network, and the road network of any country or any geography. So all the problems, all the controversies, everything that you can think of in the internet world will have an absolute real life analogy in the roads. And it's much easier to understand if you sort of understand with reference to roads which we are more comfortable with. One very simple example I'll give you of the analogy. What is the, let's take the road opposite Cathedral Road. Cathedral Road, and you know, internet links, we talk about 3 Mbps, 10 Mbps, 100 Mbps, 1000 Mbps. What is the equivalent capacity of, what is the equivalent speed of our road opposite here?
How many PCUs?
How many?
PCUs.
No. Speed, not capacity.
Kilometers per hour. 15
because 100 Mbps is per second, so it's a speed unit.
15 kilometers per hour.
No.
Depending on which vehicle you are traveling.
No. So if I were selling that road space, I would say that 160 kilometers per hour is the speed of that road. If I were the only car traveling on that road, I could travel at 160 kilometers per hour. Yeah, depending on my own ability to drive and so on and so forth. There are 3 lanes on the road. So arguably 3 cars could go parallelly also at 160 kilometers per hour. You put 6 cars, if they are very orderly and discipline driven like Google cars and all, they will all go at 160 like a convoy. But you put real life dynamics into it, then the speed starts dropping. How is that different from our traffic? We have a line, somebody gives us a line, says it's a 10 Mbps line. But do you realize you're not the only person on the line? Maybe the little bit from your house to the gate is you're the only person. But the moment it reaches the gate, there are other people who converge there. Then as you go further, there are even more people who converge there. Just like this road. If this road had no other side roads, then perhaps you could go at a fast speed. But you have roads, you have people coming in, you have people going out, people taking right turns, illegal right turns, all sorts of crap. Exactly the same things happens on the internet. So the indiscipline and the quantity of traffic on a network, whether it is an electronic network or a physical network, finally determines the real life speed that you will get, regardless of what is the advertised speed or the ultimate speed capacity of the network. So that is one analogy I gave you. It has got nothing to do with net neutrality, but it is to explain to you how the electronic network, internet, has got real life simile in road network. So coming back to this, so take road neutrality. Okay, Sriram's car, which is probably a tycoon car,
No.
or some ordinary person's car, or a scooter, or a criminal who's carrying his, or a politician carrying his loot in the car. All those cars, they pay the same thing for petrol, they pay the same thing if there is a toll, they pay the same fare for the toll. There is no distinction made as to the content of the vehicle. Okay, leave aside the price of the vehicle. Even the content of the vehicle, there is no distinction made unless an artificial distinction is made by putting a red light on top. Okay, in which case you get priority, right? Hopefully there is a limited window to get priority. But leaving that context aside, there is absolute road neutrality. You don't pay more for petrol, you don't pay more for tolls. Okay? Next. So, when we talk about net neutrality, isn't that what is actually happening today? Yes. Today the net is neutral. Today if I start a new company, a new e-commerce company with a small amount of capital and I put my website over there, so long as I advertise, So long as I spend the money in getting customers to me, the customers can reach me. There is no other way. And the customer will take the same time to reach me as he will take to reach Flipkart or Amazon. It is a question of how interesting products I have, how I am able to attract the customer. That is the only thing that matters. The physical ability of the customer to reach me is no different than his ability to reach Amazon or Flipkart. So it is very neutral. If I download an image or if I download a movie, I can still, subject to limits that the ISP may have set, right? That this is my fair use policy, etc., etc. Subject to that, I will get my download at the speed. So long as I am within the fair usage policy, whether I am downloading a very important email from somebody, whether I am downloading a pirated Indian movie, it doesn't matter. They will all come at the same place. So it's absolutely net neutral. So we have grown up with that. Okay, we have all grown up thinking that the internet is neutral because the internet grew accidentally. It did not grow in a very purposeful manner. It started somewhere, then suddenly, people found value in it, and it just grew. So it grew in a matter that was net neutral. The argument today is because it has been neutral all along, we are now arguing about whether it should be neutral or not. Which I'll come to in the next slide, which I'll explain why I'm saying what I'm saying. What is free basics? Free basics is relevant in India and some emerging economies, emerging countries, not so much in modern economies. Why? Because countries like us, most of the internet access is through the air. It is not through wires. If you go to other countries, if you go to Korea for example, almost everybody has a 100 Mbps link to his house. Okay, a physical link, fiber. It doesn't matter, the bandwidth is free. With 100 Mbps, you don't need to worry about bandwidth. But with on the air, as it is, the multiplexing is massive. They take a small amount of spectrum and they keep on getting on more and more subscribers, which is why we get call drops, which is why we have difficulty getting, which is why the internet speed is so low. I have 4G. Okay, Airtel told me to get 4G, I got 4G. I'm supposed to get so many Mbps, but I don't get that. Okay, I don't get it even in a test. And certainly when I download something, it's certainly not that many Mbps. But at home, I have a fiber connection, I get whatever full speed that I'm supposed to get. So the problem is that Wi-Fi spectrum is scarce. We as a country are becoming mobile first and wired second. Okay, we are sort of leapfrogging the entire wired, not only for voice but also for internet. That is why there is such a race to grab the air-enabled users, so to speak. And who are they? They are the bottom end of the spectrum. People who have places of residence. First of all, you must have a place of residence. That itself knocks off 60% of the people. In that 40% of the people, perhaps half will have some form of link. Even if it's a BSNL 1 Mbps link, they'll have some physical link to their house. So worst case, they'll go to their house and check. The 60% who don't even have a sort of a formal place of residence, what do? They have to get their mobile and they have to use the internet on that. Now, if you go to such a person and you say you have to pay an extra 100 rupees a month for internet, vis-a-vis somebody who is coming in saying that it's free. It's a big deal for them because 100 rupees or 200 rupees a month means a lot. All the prepaid users, they live on 10 rupee charge to 10 rupee charge. Okay, nobody charges more than 10 rupees. My driver charges 20 rupees and USSR, charge XSR and all that. So, when somebody is charging 10 rupees to 10 rupees, he is not willing to pay 100 rupees per month for which we find it trivial. But it is a very big deal for that class of people. And that is why the free basics really means a big deal to that class of people. It brings them on to the internet network world. Almost it's like giving them literacy, or it's giving them water, or it's giving them ration cards, giving them Aadhaar cards. It is that sort of enablement. Because the moment you get internet, and you see in those ads, where some father sends money to his daughter and all that stuff. It's like that. It's really true enablement. It's like you are blind and you opened your eyes, you now see the whole world which you were not able to see. I cannot ever overestimate the power of giving access to somebody who has not had access before. So the concept that such people, like they are getting ration, right? They are getting Norega, you do some work and you get 100 rupees a day or 200 rupees a day. In principle, I think it's a great idea to give free internet access up to a certain limit to people. You give free power, you give free diesel, you give free kerosene. Why not give free bandwidth? That is the thing that has to be done today to bring them out of the morass that they are in. The problem is that the way these chaps have gone about it, Facebook have gone about it, has become very self-serving. Okay, they have said that you will get free internet access to access Facebook. Okay, huge, that was the first edition. That's not Free Basics, that was the earlier edition, internet.org. That created such a hue and cry that then they said, no, it's not only Facebook, I am publishing a set of standards. Anybody who complies with these standards will form part of my group. And all these sites can be accessed for free. As far I already said, right? You have to pull these people out. The next level of empowerment beyond education, beyond female literacy, beyond health, beyond food, water, etc., is digital literacy for sure. So it's conceptually it's a great idea to give them the literacy. But the objections, what are the objections? Point number one: Facebook and gang forms something called Free Basics. Next thing you know, somebody is forming Free Google, somebody is forming Free Microsoft, somebody is forming Free something else. Now, as a customer, if I don't have to pay 100 rupees, and if Free Basics gets together a set of sites that somewhat reasonably meet my needs, okay, then why would I pay to go elsewhere? Okay, I want to buy something, there is one e-commerce player over here, maybe he's a little bit more or less whatever, but he's there. Okay, I want to find out what my rice is selling for in the next town. Okay, there is some query site that is able to give it to me. So I am content. I am happy to have this Free Basics. It is free. My basic needs are being met. It's like ration rice. How many people here eat ration rice? But there are people who eat ration rice, right? In the same way, look at it as a ration internet. Okay, it is not the best. It is not the what all of us want, but it is better than nothing, and it is free. So that is one thing. So the moment Facebook comes with a set of their chamchas and call it, Free Basics, and you will get a little bit of everything over here like a thali meal. Basically, the big thing is Facebook, and then little things of other things are there, so that you can call it a complete offering. Other competitors are not going to lay low. They will say, Free Google is there, or Google is a centerpiece, and small things are there. Then Free Microsoft is there, and then little things are around it. Today, the greatness of internet is that it is open. Okay, as I said, started by saying it's neutral. Anybody puts up a site, you are guaranteed right of access. Whether you get a customer is a different matter, but you're guaranteed right of access. The moment you put this artificial barrier by calling something free and something more expensive, then they become a set of walled gardens. That's the term that is being used, right? Why is it a garden? Because good things are there inside and it's free. But it's walled. Because instinctively you will not want to take the effort to climb over the wall and go outside. Because climbing over the wall and going outside involves your paying 150, 200 rupees a month, which you will end up not doing. Okay. So, objection number one, internet will get broken down into a series of walled gardens. That is the first objection, which means that the character of internet will change totally. Second thing, who are the guys who are going to build these walled gardens? They are the people who have the money. So it is going to become even more oligopolistic. It is going to be controlled by the big guys, and the startups of Startup India are not going to find a way anywhere. They have to buy their way into this. Today everything is benign. No, you come, it's free and all that. But 2 years down the road, the apprehension is that once that Free Basics becomes a big deal, you want to join Free Basics, write a check for 5 crores, then you will entry fee. Undoubtedly it is going to happen. After all, if they have spent 300 crores, commercially speaking, there has to be some return on it. Right? So the return we want to 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road, 6 years down the road, someday there has to be a return. They are all commercial and prudent businessmen. They are doing this as an investment. So the suspicion is that there is something in it for them in the long run, and therefore, even though I may not be paying for it today, I am going to pay in spades for it in time to come. That is the apprehension, second apprehension. Go back, please. These are the commercial objections. There is also a liberal set in our society who talks about the principles involved, which is that walled gardens, which I talked about already, small entities, startups, etc., will not really find a place because they'll have to buy their way into these gardens in time to come. So you can't really launch a website anymore unless you are affiliated with one or the other. And the potential of choice. When you have choice, then why are you doing something that diminishes the choice? If you really want to make bandwidth available, then make it available by direct credit into their account for the equivalent of the, say, 50 rupees a month is a basic mobile subscription. Put 50 rupees into their bank account or put 50 rupees into Airtel's account and Airtel will give it to them. That is the option. Facebook can give the 50 rupees. They are so keen on bringing up the rural poor. Well, give the government of India 500 crores and let the government subsidize the internet. You don't do it yourself. That is fundamentally what the liberal objection is. So, I want to go back to my earlier example of roads because that's the easiest way to explain it. Now, if somebody were to say that, it's tough traffic out there. If you give me ₹1 lakh, I will give you a red light. Okay. And then everything will open for you and you can go. Would that be a good thing or a bad thing?
Right.
Why? It's free economy, right? It's the highest bidder.
It fosters a tribe of VIPs, artificial tribe of VIPs.
Who pays what? Who pays who?
You can pay.
No, there is some authority which grants red lights, let us say. So that authority comes and says, like today you can buy number plates. Today I registered a car, they said 18,000 rupees for some number plate. I paid 18,000 rupees for a number plate. Number plate is a benign thing. My getting a number plate doesn't really bother anybody else. But my occupying a road with so much space around which nobody else can occupy bothers a whole lot of people. Right? Second argument potentially is that roads were created using public money in the first place. Okay. So it is not as though I and you have paid taxes and our parents and grandparents have paid taxes to build those roads. Okay, and so many people who don't even use the roads have paid taxes to use those roads, to build those roads. So how can you then start giving privilege rights to people to use the roads? That is one argument. The other argument is that state is always perennially short of money. This is a way to give money. Let's have a limited number of red cars. Let's auction 500 red. Let's auction 1,000. Let's auction 5,000. Like Tasmac shops. You have 100 Tasmac shops. Then you say, okay, it's too far apart. Let's put it in the middle. Then we'll go near the school. Go near the thing. So once you identify a revenue source, and people will maximize the revenue source. It goes without saying. So it is an arguable point. I'm not saying that. In this case, it's not arguable. But on spectrum, the argument that the ISPs have is that we've paid for the spectrum, right? They've paid really big bucks for the spectrum. So please allow us to exploit it in whatever best way possible. If that means that I have to charge, I have to give something zero and then charge twice the fee to somebody else, so be it. Let's do that. So I don't know. I mean, it's a my personal feeling is that it is not a good thing. But there is a commercial case for, and there is a commercial case against it also. So we have to see who wins out. The feeling is that right now TRAI is leaning for net neutrality. That is against free basics. What will finally transpire depends upon whether he gets to put his arm around Modi again. If he does that again, then maybe we don't know what will get signed in the process. So it's really, that's all I had to say. And it's a question of if there is any questions or any debating, then I'm happy to. Otherwise, we have an early night today, and my wife will be happy that I left at 7:30.
In comparison with the road, you're comparing with the road. These things, see, in certain countries like Singapore, they have an extra tax if you're taking your vehicle to certain areas. So that is, in a way, putting the same thing that you were talking about, putting a red light on your car. So it is done in certain places.
All these are societal decisions. Okay. In Delhi, they said odd car, even car. Yeah. That means half the cars are disenfranchised on any given day. Okay. Then half the capital investment of cars in Delhi is now basically wasted. But that's a societal decision. It is intended for the societal good. It is not a commercial decision. It is not, one company is not doing that for its potential private good.
And we can't compare Singapore with India with the population differing totally. Vast.
You were saying something?
No, I was just thinking that,
Yes,
half the capital investment,
Yeah.
something that didn't strike me earlier.
Has there been an analysis of the experience abroad? There are so many countries in Latin
There are
America.
African countries where where free basics has actually been quite successful. Because there is not that much of a civil society there. As you know, in African countries, there is not really that much of civil society. It's really some dictator who says, do it and it gets done. So, but where there is a strong civil society and there is a strong liberal segment in the civil society, then definitely it is not a cakewalk for anybody to do.
I think there's a slight mismatch in the objectives. See, the whole question is it a public good or private good? If spectrum is very limited, it's not a public good beyond a point like Singapore. So, you need to ration the use of resources. Now, how do you use that? It's a tricky issue. Whether the state should do that, or Facebook becomes a state and does that. So the whole issue is who should be the policeman, not self-appointed policing, commercial policing by these guys. But then the basic issue is, with the type of internet we have today, sooner or later we have to do this. how we do that is a matter of, it cannot be left to commercial people. It does be done by state. I think that's a limited point I want to make. Second point, I don't agree with these people that, these fellows say that, startups, I'm just saying, say that, look, I don't have access to that because of this. I strongly disagree with that. Who is the target audience for all of us, or for all these startups and people? The rich people who have money. Now you are saying, any case those fellows will pay for it and take it. Now the people who are taking it free are not your target audience. So the commercial reasons I found them fraud. I think they are serving themselves because they don't want to pay for it. You can't say that poor are not getting it, so I am not getting it. So you pay for it. So I have a feeling that there are problems on both sides. One side, this guy is doing what a state is doing, state should be doing, because you got a relation there. It's a public good point. Like a toll, you got to do it. Sometime or other. When you do it is matter. Second, the fellow saying that, look, a startup I can't advertise is a bullshit, because in any case you are not appealing to these guys who are paying 10 rupees, etc. That's not a target audience. Why are you using this to persuade it? I think that's it.
There's one country in the world where bandwidth is a fundamental right. I think it's Sweden or something, where it's a fundamental right and every citizen is, even if he can't afford it, is given internet access by the state.
Population goes down every year, right? Population goes down every year. Singapore
It's
is
easy
so
to do
old.
that.
People can't even come
No,
out.
I entirely agree with you that it is a very significant empowerment, and it may not be of the stature of a fundamental right, but it will soon get there, because it's also a function of how much IP, how much content is created that is India specific, serving India and so on. Right? Today, many of the sites we see are not necessarily India content serving India and so on. There is of course maybe 40-50%, but 40-50% is outside of India. The more you get local language content, the more you get content of topical interest to people. So the point is that the internet need not go outside the borders of India. Okay, the internet is just an internet. It's just a network of networks is what an internet means. If we can restrict the 70-80% of traffic within the country by creating adequate content, and 70-80% is not an ambitious target. Why? Because out of the 1.2 billion people, perhaps 200 million are on the internet today, or 300 million. The other 700 are yet to come on board. The other 700 will never come on board with English language content, for sure, because they probably don't even know English, they don't know. So as Hindi and Tamil and other content comes on the net, and as internetworking within the country becomes more robust, then that is the internet I am really referring to, not really internet as in going outside India,
Who will do
looking at stuff.
Who will do that?
Creating content?
Vernacular content. Who will do that?
No, there is a lot of
This is where, if you look at the cable TV which came a few years back, there were 10 companies, 8 companies, whatever. Each one had a bouquet. Even today, there is 500 rupees and 300 rupees for bookings, whichever you want to take. Now, this is something similar to that. And then today, what you rightly said is, today Tata Sky only is offering. Apple will come tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, Sun TV would come. So this is a kind of situation which will evolve over a period of time. And today what has happened is all channels are available with all the cable service providers. Maybe that's a kind of a situation would come, and more